Hey YouTube, this is the Death Scouter making another video, and today we're going to be putting a Maximus 3 Stinger onto the front of a 2017 75th Anniversary Edition Jeep JKU onto the steel bumper that comes with that model. A couple of tools we're going to use. We are going to be using our 4mm or number 4 hex head bolt for these screws that will be holding in part of the support bracket. Of course, what would a Jeep repair be without a 10mm on the back of those nuts? And then to take off the screws that hold in the winch plate and give us access to where the support brackets need to go, we will be using a T30 Torx. And then on the support brackets down here that come with it, please note that some of these brackets come from Maximus 3 with hex head screws here. These happen to come all the way around with half-inch nut heads. So note that on these particular brackets, on this particular model of Stinger, you may see something different when you go to do it. I have seen a lot of videos of people installing these on YouTube. I didn't like some of their instructions. They kind of were learning as they go, which is cool. I do that all the time, but I wanted to be thorough and do my own video. So please note that these may be a little different. Also going to be adding on the optional light bracket here that we'll be using to mount up a set of 6-inch KC daylighters to go with the rest of the theme of the Jeep. But for now, we're just going to get started and take this all apart. I'm going to show you the steps as we go along. You're also going to need a screwdriver or a pair of pliers. There is a clip nut underneath here that we will have to pry off once we get this plate off. But let's go one step at a time so we keep it simple and straightforward. First thing we're going to do is, if we put this Stinger up here, oh, and there goes my camera moving all over the place. And here comes all the complaints of my videos being shaky. Just take a look and set this in place. You'll see instantly that these Stinger brackets are going to be using all of the existing screws. So don't throw anything away. And so we're going to use all the existing screws to put that on. But there are support brackets that need to go underneath here to tighten things down and hold this Stinger in place with enough stability to do its job. So the first thing we're going to do is, starting here and working our way around, we're going to take that Torx 30, which you should have in your toolbox that came with your Jeep. If not, just go out to buy one. Let's get these 10 screws out first. Remove this winch plate, and then I will resume the video and show you what we've got. Okay, we're back. So I took out all these nuts. Not including these ones on the far end, just the 8 that go around the winch plate. This plate literally just fell out of place. So I'm showing it to you exactly as it is once I take the nuts out. Be a little gentle taking this up. You don't want to scratch it because it is going to get reused. It is easier when you have 2 hands and not one. And we'll take this thing out, move it over here to our blanket so it doesn't get scratched up, and look at what we've got. Okay, so what this did for us is this gave us access down to the inside of the winch area and access down to the area where we need to get to this bracket. Okay, which is actually a sleeve. See, I can put my finger back in there. Now, some of the instructions say to take this plate out of the way, which would be removing this here and another one here on the driver's side. And you can slide this out of the way, because what we need to do is get these mounting brackets, and there is a left and a right, so pay attention to how we do this. You need to get this part of the mounting bracket here that I'm showing you on the video down into that sleeve. All right, this sleeve right here. Okay, and you'll know if it's left or right because the top of this plate will align with these screws. Now I'm obviously on the wrong side here, so let's take this over to this way. See, those screws in the top of that plate are going to come up underneath those 3 screws there. So this is my driver's side plate, and then there'll be a passenger side plate. And again, here on the driver's side I have the same thing, that bracket in there. Now, to maneuver this bracket in to that spot, we're going to take out this top 1/2 inch nut or bolt to give this some articulation, and we're going to take this one out too, so that we can so that this will work as a hinge, and we can flex this down into here, and we're going to then put the screws back in, or the bolt back in loosely, because we're going to need some flexibility, and put everything together first, and then we'll come back and tighten everything up. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take out this top nut and work this into place, and this bottom nut, and I'm going to work this into place here. And also want to show you, since I'm down here, this is the clip nut that we will be taking out, as we no longer need that right there. We'll be getting our threads through this bracket, so that clip nut right here, and the same on the passenger side, will come out. And that's what we're going to use either a pair of needle nose pliers or the screwdriver for, is to take this clip nut off and get that out of the way. So clip nut first, then we'll remove the top bolt, the bottom bolt, and wiggle this thing into place. As soon as I do that, I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, so just some follow-up here. You have U-nut clips all the way around your winch plate, 2 on each side, the back 2 on each side. You also want to take those off, and when you take off this back U-nut clip, it helps if you loosen these screws on the end, so that the 2 metal plates here have a little bit of play, and you can get this U-nut out easier. Also remember, you're going to be doing a lot of force in that direction, which puts you right up against your grill. They recommend that you put some kind of towel or a blanket on here to protect it so you don't scratch it by accident. Also, what I told you earlier, ignore that about keeping 1 bolt into this bracket. Take all 3 bolts out, and that way you can put the bracket in place and then put the bolts back in without having to take out and dick around with these pain in the butt clips that hold this plastic plate on. So we're now at the point we're going to start reassembling. Notice that the bracket underneath here is hanging loose. I only finger tightened some of those bolts. Sorry. We're going to go ahead now and assemble the stinger onto the bumper and replace the winch cover plate. And remember, there's order to this, right? The support brackets that we installed have the threads. So the support brackets have to be on the bottom, so it's going to be stinger, then bumper, then winch plate, then support bracket underneath that. And once you have everything tightened in from the top, when all else is finished, you'll come back down here and you'll tighten those 3 bolts on the side to give you a nice measure of support into holding the stinger in place. Alright, so putting the winch plate on, there's nothing left in here that you need access to, so let's go ahead and I'll start assembling and thumb tightening all the screws. I'll make sure the stinger is centered, and then snug everything up, and then turn the camera back on. Okay, so I got this puppy back on. Just note that if you're reusing the original screws, because they did provide us, let me move the camera, they did provide us with some longer bolts. I have no idea what the hell they're for, because they're not mentioned at all anywhere in the instructions, but the instructions specifically show the flat Torx 30s mounting this thing in, so I insisted that I use the original screws. They barely have enough thread to get started, but the good news is once you start to tighten up and you draw the winch plate up and you draw the support brackets up, everything does bite and you're able to get everything back on. And here's the extra light bar that I got for my KCs. So going around bit by bit by bit, I tightened everything up and it's nice and snug. The only thing that's left to do now is go down on each side with your 1/2 inch and start tightening the support bracket. This is the very last step. Everything was all about making sure that the stinger was sitting flat and where it should be on the bumper, and then coming behind after the fact and then tightening down all these 1/2 inch bolts that we've got. 3 on the driver's side, 3 on the passenger side. So it's nice and snug. And then this last one here, if I learned how to use a socket and wrench, I'd be in good shape. That's nice and snug. I'll go over and do that on the passenger side. We'll be done. Alright, one thing, I don't know if I said it in the video, I said to take out this rear clip. You actually take out the 2 clips on this side because they're going to be handled by these 2 screws on the underside, and then you're done. So all in, you know, ignoring the fact that I was trying to make a video as I did this, this was probably 35 minutes of work. Nothing too complicated, just trying to make sure you do everything right and try to figure out why these threads don't seem to be deep enough, but they do all bite, so everything's good. Alright, so hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel for more upgrades and updates to Jeeps and repairs and all that stuff, and have a great day.